This is Ken Pyle, and we're at the 2012 Connections Conference with Pietro Macchiarella of Parks Associates. Pietro, you focus on digital content delivery and gaming, and those things are related, as we'll discuss. But why don't you give us some impressions of the last couple days in the digital content?
Sure, Ken, it's been a really interesting connections this year, and as you mentioned, digital distribution is a very important revolution that's happening in the industry. Content is shifting pretty much in all types of entertainment from the physical media to digital distribution, and so that has an impact both in terms of industry players and also in terms of consumers. So on the some of the essential parts are things like content protection, has been mentioned many times. Content owners are very afraid of letting content out in the digital world unless it's protected. And the difficult part is that now consumers are accessing content from every type of device, smartphones, tablets, smart TVs, and each one of them has different capabilities and different content protection, and so it makes it very difficult for distributors to actually guarantee that sort of content protection that is required by content owners. So there is a device fragmentation, which is kind of a problem for the industry, and hopefully will be solved with time. And then other things that were mentioned are the data that digital distribution provides in terms of analytics, and that's a very good opportunity for things like advanced advertising, for instance, where you can actually target advertising in a much better way than it was done ever with traditional advertising. And then the last point I will mention will be just, which I already kind of mentioned, and you kind of touched upon, which is the cross-platform with new devices coming on the market, or at least enriching what they already had in terms of contents like consoles, for instance.
Well, and I want to talk to the consoles in a moment, but first, getting back to your encryption comment and the fragmentation. From your consumer research, are you seeing frustration from the consumer standpoint of, hey, I got it here, why can't I watch it here?
Yeah, I think some services are doing a good job in being on as many devices as possible, like obviously the Netflix of this world. So I think that's helping consumers. But there are obviously some quality issues that sometimes can kind of ruin the consumer experience, especially in terms of bandwidth, for instance. And I'm talking about video mainly, right, or capability of devices. So you have the iPads of this world that are capable of streaming, and have a good quality of experience for consumers, but then maybe you have low-end Androids that really don't have that sort of capability, and it probably doesn't provide a uniform experience for consumers. So.
Well, and that's a transition into the next thing, which is on gaming and gaming consoles. Just in my own experience, I found that I can purchase a movie on YouTube on the PC, but then can't watch it on the Xbox, and so I think that's probably the frustration that one consumer has. And I'm just curious, are you seeing people using the game consoles for things like watching video? What sort of uptake is there on that?
Yes, it's actually very high, and we have seen. I was actually at E3 on Monday, right before coming to Connections, and some of the data that was mentioned by Microsoft was that they are seeing an explosion in usage for video on Xbox, and I think now accounts actually for more than gaming, which is surprising.
Interesting. Just in terms of hours.
Right, in terms of hours, and still they don't see. At least they claim that there is no cannibalization, so people are just using the console much more, and not necessarily at the expense of gaming. Okay. And I think the major advantage for consoles is that consoles are already in the living room, so they're in the place that they need to be. And obviously the content is increasing. Microsoft announced I think 35 new providers of content, apps that will be on the Xbox. They have the advantage of Kinect, which means that people can actually use their gestures or can also use their voice to control content, which is quite interesting. And actually also they introduced some discoverability features, so you can actually look for adventure movies just by using your voice. And I think that's a key advantage. And obviously the others are following, suit. So the Nintendo Wii U has much more connectivity than the Wii had, and the PlayStation also as well, as has a lot of sports content, and as Amazon that now all the others have, but they kind of started the Amazon.
Well, and it seems like the other common element in gaming now is the connectivity and the broadband. And what's the relationship there? How important is that to the consoles and to the gaming in general?
Yeah, I think it's fundamental, and we've seen, just going back to the presentations that were at E3, one of the things I've seen very strong is the push that PlayStation is doing for PlayStation Plus, for instance, which is their subscription service, and they are giving away something like 12 games this month. Okay. And so I went, when I came back, I just went on my console and I tried to download them myself, and I realized it's about 30 gigabytes of games. Wow. And so suddenly you realize, wow, digital distribution is extremely important in terms of bandwidth and speed and everything. So there is definitely a convergence between the need for good connections and broadband and digital distribution of games, which is becoming very important. So sometimes I see a lot of industry data that says that the market is going down for games in terms of sales, and it's true for physical games, but I think the digital space is increasing at a faster pace than maybe some of the data out there captures.
Well, and where do you see kind of the broadband, the gaming, the streaming gaming? The companies like OnLive and that sort of thing. Is it too late for them? Is it still early?
That's a good question. I think it's too early to understand where they actually where they fit in the markets, and I think they're at the moment, especially OnLive, is kind of stuck in the middle between the casual population, the casual gaming population that is perfectly satisfied with consoles and smartphones, and the core gaming population that wants to play on big consoles and PCs. Yeah. So it will be interesting to see if they can actually expand the market to capture more of either one of these.
It is kind of a Netflix of gaming, though, in the sense of the way it's doing it, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think Gaikai, which is the alternative, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but Gaikai is it's sort of OnLive, but their model is business to business, and I think it's a little easier in terms of feasibility of their business model, because they are essentially creating an advertising network, and they target, for instance, publishers. And so publishers can use Gaikai to demo their game without any download or anything. Just go on a website and start playing, and then if you want to buy, you just click an extra click and you buy it. So.
Yeah, a little bit different model, but same kind of infrastructure.
Right, yeah.
Well, Pietro, I know we could go on in this conversation for hours, but I appreciate your time here, and thank you.
Thank you.